Alright guys, what's going on? Brian here, and this is my recap of last night's AEW Fyter Fest night number 1. I just finished watching it, and I have to say I was really impressed with the show uh, for night number 1 of Fyter Fest. Of course, it coincided with last night's NXT Great American Bash night number 1, so a bit of a ratings war. NXT was victorious in the ratings for last night's episodes. Their night number 1 of the Great American Bash defeated AEW's night number 1 of Fyter Fest. So that was a big victory for NXT last night. I actually watched night number 1 of the Great American Bash. So, um, but let's get into the recap. My overall thoughts on last night's Fyter Fest, night number 1. I thought it was a really good show. There was nothing really bad about it. The opening match between Jurassic Express of Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy defeating MJF and Wardlow, I thought that was a really good tag match. Then we had a brawl between Lance Archer and Joey Janela that happened in the crowd. This kind of continues their build to their match next week for night number 2. Uh, Hikaru Shida successfully defended her AEW Women's World Championship against Penelope Ford. This one, I actually thought Penelope Ford did a really good job in this match. She really, even though she wasn't victorious, and Shida was victorious and retained her championship, I thought that Penelope Ford did a really good job. And she was very impressive in this match, even though she came out on the losing end. We had a Technique by Taz segment that featured Taz talking about Jon Moxley's paradigm shift finishing move. He talked about how Moxley has been able to apply that move to other superstars, other wrestlers in AEW, but he wonders if Moxley could actually do that to Brian Cage, who he'll be defending the AEW World Championship against, as we found out, as was revealed last night, in 2 weeks at Fight for the Fallen. So basically, that was because of Jon Moxley being at home due to this COVID-19. He wanted to be on the safe side, and I'll get into that and Taz's thoughts on that event, on that whole situation coming up, because he did cut a promo. We saw Cody retain the TNT Championship against Jake Hager. Good match. I was kind of surprised by the finish because Hager locked in the triangle on Cody. However, Cody reversed it into a pinning combination, and that was enough to keep Hager down for the 3 count. Hager got angry after the match and knocked out a referee, which caused AEW to not only fine him an undisclosed amount, but also suspend him for 10 days in storyline. So we will not be seeing Hager on AEW television for 10 days. Then we had Private Party defeating Santana and Ortiz. I thought this was a really good tag team match, a huge opportunity for both teams to show, to prove themselves as far as, getting up in the rankings for the tag team division and moving up. And Private Party picked up the win in this tag team match. And they did announce that next week, Private Party will get their opportunity at night number 2 of Fyter Fest, as they will challenge for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Who will the champions be? I will get into that in just a moment. Then Chris Jericho, who was on commentary throughout most of the show, he he would be joined by Orange Cassidy, who he'll be facing next week. Cassidy playing it cool, putting his feet on the table, just just chilling. Didn't really pay much attention to Jericho. After Private Party 1, I believe, I forget who it was. I forget which one it was, which member of Private Party went the to the commentary table. Jericho tossed a drink at him. Then he tossed a drink at Orange Cassidy. Cassidy got up, kicked the chair that he was sitting in, and then tried to walk away. But Jericho went after him, and then a slew of individuals came out to break it up. And Orange Cassidy was like, you know what? I'm okay. I'm chill. I'm not gonna fight him. Uh, and Jericho was like all angry. I'm gonna get you next week, Cassidy. I'm gonna get you next week. So that is a match set for next week. Then we had a interview with the current AEW World Tag Team Champions, Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page, talking about their upcoming title defense against the Best Friends in the main event. Then we would hear from Taz and the number one contender to the AEW World Championship, Brian Cage. Taz talked about Jon Moxley's being at home. He said he had a meeting with Tony Khan where he was informed that the match will not be happening next week. It'll be happening in 2 weeks at Fight for the Fallen. He talked about how Moxley is scared of Brian Cage. He's a chicken. He then said about that they don't run a sloppy shop, talking about, and a lot of people were offended by this comment, especially people in WWE, because obviously this was a jab at WWE apparently. So he basically told Moxley he'll see him in 2 weeks. Brian Cage will see him in 2 weeks at Fight for the Fallen. So that is set. The world title match set for 2 weeks from yesterday. And then in the main event, it was the Best Friends challenging Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega for the AEW Tag Team Championships. This one I thought was really good. They kind of gave hope that the Best Friends were going to take this one and win the titles, because they actually had Trent's mom driving them to the ring in a minivan, and that is no joke. Trent's mom actually drove up to the arena or drove into the arena with the Best Friends in a minivan. And one of the funny parts about their entrance was that Trent was like trying to keep a straight face, but he couldn't keep a straight face because his mom wanted a kiss, and that was pretty much it for that. That was pretty funny. The matchup was good, was solid. Like I said, they kind of gave hope that the Best Friends were going to win, but in the end, it was Hangman Adam Page picking up the victory for his team with the buckshot lariat. After the match, FTR, who had come out during the match with beach chairs and a cooler full of beer to watch the match, they would come into the ring. They would offer Hangman and Omega a bottle of beer. Hangman, he took the bottle of beer. And so did Omega, but when they went to drink it, Omega went to the ropes and dumped the beer outside the ring, and then that made FTR mad. They got in Omega's face. Here come the Young Bucks to try to calm things down, or at least try to, and that was pretty much it for night number 1 of Fyter Fest for AEW. So overall, I thought it was a very good episode, very good start to Fyter Fest. As I mentioned, the NXT's Great American Bash Night Number 1 defeated AEW Fyter Fest Night Number 1. So that in and of itself. But I thought after watching both shows, both brands or companies did a really good job on their respective programs. I'm not going to complain. So it was what it was. Of course, next week on night number 2 for both shows on NXT, you have, of course, the main event, which will be Adam Cole versus Keith Lee, winner take all, with both the North American and NXT championships on the line. You have a huge 6-man tag team match set for next week with Breezango and Drake Maverick taking on Legado del Fantasma. Then you have Mia Yim and Candice LeRae in a street fight, plus whatever else they add. Then over on next week's night number 2 of Fyter Fest for AEW, you have Private Party are going to be challenging Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page for the Tag Team Championships. You have also next week Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy. You have Joey Janela and Lance Archer. We're going to see a huge 8-man tag with FTR and the Young Bucks taking on the Butcher and the Blade and their tag team partners, the Lucha Brothers, Pentagon and Phoenix. So that should be exciting. So all in all, lots to look forward to next week as far as both shows are concerned. So with that being said, for those of you that watched last night's Fyter Fest night number 1, let me know what you guys thought of it in the comments below. This has been my AEW Fyter Fest night number 1 recap. As always, I am Brian, and thank you for watching.